My routine was a quiet, meticulous ritual. By day I was Lena Thorne, a fastidious appraiser of rare jewelry and antique jade. By night I became a voice, a disembodied authority on precious stones, hosting a small niche livestream. I cultivated anonymity. The camera remained stubbornly dark, protecting my face, which I suppose was the last barrier between the world and the truth of me. Tonight the usual quiet was shattered not by sound but by sight. I'd connected with a popular streamer, Skylar Reed, whose on-screen persona was all breathless, vivacious charm. She was draped across a man in a way that spoke of casual, possessive intimacy. "Hey, Queen of Jade," Skylar chirped, tilting her head. "My honey just got this amazing vintage ring. Can you give us the market value? My followers are dying to know if he's rich or just pretending." She extended the man's hand toward my dark lens. On his thumb sat a hefty antique jadeite band. It was a spectacular piece, deep emerald veins layered seamlessly, like distant mist-shrouded mountains frozen in ice. A cold, internal seismic shift began. My professional detachment evaporated. The ring was not merely similar. It was identical to the one I had meticulously chosen and gifted to Jason Cross for his birthday last month. I remembered the night. The elaborate home-cooked meal, the perfectly wrapped gift, and Jason arriving late, his temper brittle, accusing me of disrupting his critical corporate presentation. His anger only subsided when he saw the jade, the sheer cost momentarily eclipsing his manufactured stress. I had studied for weeks to find a piece that spoke of permanence, of a value that couldn't be quantified by a paycheck. I strained against the low camera angle, trying to breach Skylar's shoulder, which was artfully blocking his face. Just then the man's hidden hand squeezed Skylar's waist. She laughed, a high, saccharine sound, and batted his arm, shifting just enough. The movement was fleeting, but it was all I needed. A sliver of his profile, the curve of his ear, and the tiny telltale black mole nestled right at the base of his lobe. I took a screenshot, zooming into the damning pixelation. It was him. My Jason, who had texted me barely an hour ago about a demanding all-hands-on-deck project requiring him to pull an emergency all-nighter at his firm. Skylar, sensing my silence, grew impatient. "Hello, Jade Whisper. Are you there? Do you know your stuff or not? What's the verdict?" I inhaled, the bitter truth a metallic taste on my tongue. The anger, a feeling I usually kept sequestered and cold, was momentarily displaced by a faint, analytical amusement. I had always known Jason was shallow, but not this ridiculously reckless. "The quality is exceptional," I stated calmly, my voice regaining its detached, expert timbre. "A piece of this provenance would command at least $50,000 on the open market." The screen erupted. Skylar shrieked, covering her mouth with a meticulously manicured hand. "Honey, did you hear that? Whoa. Is that real, or did some rich old lady buy you a knockoff?" The chat pulsed with disbelief and scandal. "Wait, her husband has a side piece? They're the IT couple, this is wild." Skylar preened, twisting slightly in Jason's lap, ensuring her every boast was audible. "Oh, that old woman? No, that's just a clingy ex, she's obsessed. Giving him jewelry, watches. He just tolerates her. Honestly, I sell all her gifts. We've been living off her generosity for months." "Thanks, honey." Jason off-camera laughed faintly and squeezed her waist again. The casual cruelty of it was breathtaking. I had never once accepted a gift from him without immediately reciprocating with something of equal or greater value. I valued equity, he apparently valued exploitation. He hadn't given me a gift at all, he had given me an investment which he then cashed out through Skylar. I muted my microphone and snatched my cell phone. I needed to witness the reaction in real time. I dialed his number. On the live stream, the man's pocket buzzed. Jason fumbled for his phone, his face hidden, his voice tight with practiced annoyance. "What is it, Lena? I told you I'm in a major meeting, I can't be interrupted." "Where are you, Jason?" My voice was low, devoid of emotion, a dangerous calm. "The office. Where else would I be at 10 at night? I'm preparing a pitch. How many times do I have to tell you, don't call when I'm working?" He sounded genuinely exasperated, his righteous indignation a practiced performance. As if on cue, Skylar decided to become a visual distraction. She began to sway, rubbing her back provocatively against his thigh. The chat exploded with wolf whistles. She was all liquid movement and unsettling fluidity. When her body compressed against his, I noticed something strange about the folds of her skin around her ribs. They didn't crease and soften like normal flesh. They seemed to ripple like water disturbed by a stone. Jason gasped, a sharp choked sound. "Stop moving," he hissed into his phone, his voice strained. "What was that sound, Jason? You sound breathless. Is your coworker having a coughing fit?" "It's the speakers in the boardroom, Lena. I'm presenting. Can you please stop this insane suspicion?" He took a shaky breath. "I'm trying to make a living here. Don't drag me down." "Wait," I said, slowing my breath, allowing a note of manufactured panic to creep into my tone. "I'm not worried about the ring anymore, Jason. I'm worried about the streamer." Jason froze on the screen, his shoulder blades tense beneath his shirt. The streamer. Yes. Skylar Reed. I just realized. She's a 1,000-year skeleton. A beat of absolute silence. Then a low, terrified stammer from the phone. "What are you? What did you say?" I disconnected my stream, severing the professional link, but kept the phone pressed to my ear, savoring his terror. "My friend Mira Jones, the one who does the paranormal streams. She's encountered them before. Dried corpses, bodies held together by sheer spite. A skeleton is worse. It's a corpse with only the bones remaining, the skin peeled from another body and refitted, held taut by a vacuum and filled, not with muscle and organ but with fluid." I elaborated, my voice a soothing, dangerous murmur. "That unsettling movement you just saw? The ripple? That's the fluid moving beneath the skin. Normal flesh doesn't move like that. And skeletonkin, Jason, they have a craving. Every month, beneath the pull of the full moon, they must feed. They prefer bones. They start with the extremities, a quiet little snap, a slow consumption." Jason was hyperventilating on the other end. Skylar, oblivious, giggled and adjusted her position. "But don't worry, darling," I cooed, making sure to sound distracted. "You're safe at the office. Just finish your pitch and come home." He hung up instantly. I texted him immediately. "Lena. Okay, sorry to interrupt. You get back to work. I'm logging off now." Jason, wait. "Lena. Tell me the other characteristics. The other signs. Please." I allowed the pause to stretch, letting the panic coagulate in his mind. Then I texted back coolly. "Lena, they're weight. Because they lack musculature and organs, they are unnaturally light. They are also incredibly cold to the touch, even in high summer." I switched my view to Skylar's personal stream on an anonymous account. She was ranting, her voice petulant. "Ugh, that old bee, that woman just tried to sabotage my husband again. So clingy, so shameless." I typed into the comments. "You seem to be carrying a lot of weight today, Skylar." Skylar pouted, whipping her head around. "Who said I was fat? I am not fat." She grabbed a digital scale, placed it on the floor, and with the camera carefully angled, stepped on. The screen displayed a number, 80.5 pounds. The comments exploded, mocking her exaggerated height claims and tiny frame. Skylar, annoyed, dismissed it with a flippant wave. "It's just light bones, you guys. Stop being haters." Jason, who must have been watching, was texting furiously. "Jason, 80 pounds, Lena. She's 5 feet 7 inches. This isn't a joke. You set this up. You knew, didn't you? Lena, I watched that Mira Jones stream with you, remember? You dismissed it as a hoax. I'm just repeating what I learned." Jason, "What else? What else do I need to know?" "Lena, the hands. When a skeleton is hungry, they often focus on the hands of their prey. They'll fondle, hold, or taste them." On Skylar's stream, she had returned to Jason's lap, grabbing his left hand, the one that had worn the ring. She caressed his fingers, then with a playful look at the camera, bent down and slipped his middle finger into her mouth. The chat went wild. Jason shot up from the couch, his face a mask of terror, yanking his hand away. Skylar fell to the floor, stunned, her face contorting into sudden, ugly anger. "What the hell was that, Jason?" "Bathroom. Gotta use the restroom, bad case of bad coffee. Be right back, honey." Jason sprinted into an adjacent room, locking the door with a desperate click. He immediately called me. His voice was a raw, rattling thing. "Lena, I need to know. No. What is the fatal flaw? How do I fight it? I'm begging you." I maintained my glacial composure. "Why are you asking me, Jason? I thought you were interested in classic literature, not fairy tales." I waited, letting the memory of his past condescension, his scorn for my useless interests, his constant advice to be cold and self-preserving, sink in. He was weeping now, his breath hitching. I know I was a selfish bastard. I was wrong. I'll give you everything. My career, my house, my savings. Just tell me how to survive this night. Money won't save you, Jason. It's never been about money. Please, Lena. For the sake of our 3 years. You're a good person. You can't just let me die. I'm tired, Jason. I'm going to sleep. I started to hang up. No. Wait. His voice was a broken shriek. I'm there. I'm at Skylar's apartment. I'm the one in danger. I confess I was cheating. It was me. Please save me. The confession finally delivered not by remorse, but by the primal terror of annihilation. It was precisely what I needed. All right, Jason. Calm down. They don't kill immediately. You need to target the first lumbar vertebra. It's the transitional point. A solid blow there will momentarily paralyze them. Skylar is a 1,000-year skeleton. She'll recover fast, maybe 3 minutes. You hit her, then you run, you understand? Run straight here. My apartment has countermeasures. Jason's gratitude was hysterical, sickening. Thank you, Lena. I love you. You're the only good thing in my life. He transferred his entire savings, a paltry $3,600, not the 6 figures he boasted of, and ended the call. I smiled at the transaction notification, a faint, cold satisfaction settling over me. The appetizer was ready. Jason emerged from the bathroom, his face carefully wiped, but his eyes still huge and wet. He faked a business call, said he had to leave for an urgent meeting downtown. Skylar, who had composed herself, glared. Don't lie to me, Jason. We work in the same department. And I know your pathetic little tricks to ditch the old woman. Don't try them on me. You're not going anywhere. His panic escalated. Skylar, please, Lena's been in an accident. I have to go to the hospital. She's not your wife, she's not your sister. And she's certainly not my concern. Sit down. Her eyes narrowed, predatory. Try to walk out that door. I dare you. Jason surrendered, offering a flimsy apology, and retreated, heading towards the kitchen. He glanced around furtively, then slipped the jade ring off his finger and tossed it discreetly under the sofa. He bent down, feigning injury. Pie back. Oh, my spine is locked up. Skylar, honey, can you reach under the sofa for the ring? My poor, stiff corporate back just can't do it. Skylar scoffed, but was easily manipulated by the opportunity to showcase her own lithe flexibility. She knelt by the coffee table, arching her back and hips into a mocking perfect curve as she reached beneath the cushions. Jason was quiet as a statue, his hand closing around a heavy crystal ashtray on the end table. His eyes were wild, fixed on the exposed vertebrae of his mistress. He raised the weapon high, teeth gritted in a silent, murderous vow. Ah! Skylar shrieked, suddenly pulling her hand out. Something bit me. My finger, it's bleeding. Jason dropped the ashtray, the heavy glass clattering against the wood floor. He looked at the tiny welling drop of crimson blood on her fingertip, his brain instantly rebooting. He rushed to the kitchen ostensibly for a first aid kit, but instead dialed my number again. His voice was no longer tearful. It was a screech of pure enraged realization. You liar. You conniving psycho. You told me it was only fluid. She's bleeding, Lena. She's human. You tried to get me to murder her. You set me up. The switch in his temperament was instantaneous and absolute, from sniveling victim to furious aggressor. Yes, Jason. I did. I admitted, my voice ice cold. And I don't owe you an explanation. Don't ever call me again. Die in a ditch for all I care. I hung up before his next tirade could start. He immediately sent a flurry of texts, alternating between threats and broken pleas. I let him stew, then typed out a final clinical message. Lena. To maintain the disguise, the fluid they fill their bodies with is laced with a red compound. It perfectly mimics the look of blood when exposed, but has one fatal flaw. It tastes sweet. Jason went silent. I knew he was frozen, the last remnants of his skepticism battling the terrifying, undeniable truth I had laid out. Finally, he sent a trembling single-word reply. Jason, sweet? He returned to the living room, a bottle of disinfectant and a bandage in hand. He took Skylar's finger, held it tenderly, and then, without warning, lowered his head and drew the wounded fingertip into his mouth. Skylar's face flushed with a mixture of surprise and theatrical pleasure. You pervert. The camera is still on. But Jason didn't hear her. His eyes, fixed on a point far beyond the room, dilated. His entire body began to shake. The taste was unequivocally, sickeningly sweet. He reached out and pressed down on her shoulder, forcing her onto her stomach. I'm a certified messer, honey. I'll stop the bleeding with acupressure. Lie still. Skylar, easily mollified by the attention, submitted. Jason's eyes searched her back, locating the spot between her ribs, the vulnerable transitional bone. He grabbed the ashtray from the floor and, with a guttural roar, swung it down with all the strength of a lifetime of resentment and terror. The sound was not the dull thud of flesh, but a sickening brittle crack, followed by a series of unsettling loud snaps. Skylar let out a scream that was less human and more a dying shriek of an animal trap closing. Her body did not simply slump. It warped. The unnatural fluidity of her limbs, the unnatural stillness of her core. Jason didn't wait to see the recovery. He dropped the ashtray and ran. 10 minutes later, the chime of my apartment doorbell echoed through the loft. I rose from the sofa, the movement effortless and silent. I unlocked the heavy steel door. Jason fell inside, a collapsing mass of sweat and tears, scrambling to relock the door behind him. He then turned, rushing toward me and embracing me with a desperate, crushing force. He sobbed into my hair, clinging to me as if I were the last solid structure in a collapsing universe. Lena. Oh God, I was so terrified. She won't be able to follow, right? Your apartment is safe, isn't it? Tell me she can't get in. I lowered my arms, slowly embracing him. My hands rested at his waist. Jason suddenly recoiled, his voice a tremor. Lena. Why are you so cold? I chuckled, a soft, dry sound that felt foreign even to me. I told you, darling. Skeletonkin have a lower body temperature than humans. He stared at me, his eyes wide and vacant. What? What is this game? Are you also a skeleton? I raised my head and stroked the mole at the base of his ear, the very mark that had identified him on the livestream. Skylar Reed, that simpering shallow thing? She's worthy of being a 1,000-year skeleton? No, Jason. I wrapped my arms tighter around his midsection. There is only one true skeleton in this city, and you are holding her. He struggled, an instinctive, frantic flailing of a man who realized he was already in the jaws of the trap. He lunged for the door, but I only needed one hand, my grip firm, immovable, to hold him in place. Don't leave, Jason. I've been so patient. Do you know how agonizing it is, the full moon ache? It dulls the appetite. But I can only move so far, you see. I have to wait for my food to come to me. His legs gave out and he slid to the floor, paralyzed by a terror so profound it stole his muscles. Skylar was just poisoned by your presence, Jason. By the food I prepared for you. I was cultivating her as a distraction, a potential vessel. But you, darling. You are the main course. I gently, almost tenderly, squeezed his wrist. The bone gave with a sharp, wet snap. Jason screamed, a sound that tore through the night and was instantly muffled by the thick, soundproof walls of my quiet loft. I brought his broken finger to my mouth and bit down. The bone shattered, crisp, fatty, exquisitely delicate. 3 years of careful feeding, of patient observation had led to this. The fear in his bones, the smug vanity, the casual cruelty, it all distilled into a flavor that transcended mere subsistence. I smiled, closing my eyes to savor the familiar, refined crunch. I was a picky skeleton. And the bones of bad men, of narcissistic, treacherous men, were always the most delicious. I am reborn. The skeletal structure is stronger, the density restored. It's an elegant renewal. Jason naturally is gone. And Skylar Reed? That poor, shallow girl. Paralyzed, abandoned by her own family in the hospital, ripe for the taking. I saw her mother and her boyfriend arguing over her insurance money, her worth quantified only in her earning potential. I observed them calmly. A new skin, yes, and perhaps a new target. The boyfriend, the one with the dyed hair and the calculated greed. He has a certain fragile arrogance. I think I'll wait 3 years again for his bones to mature. The hunt, after all, is a delicate art. And my elegant appetite must be satisfied.